Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on selling on Amazon, eBay, and Etsy, how to improve your business results. I'm Peter Talion, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County, and I will be your host. Our speaker today is Cliff Ennico. More on our speaker in just a moment. This webinar is being done in collaboration with the Monroe Chamber of Commerce and the Monroe Library. We are very pleased to have Beth Stoller, the Manager of Operations and Events for the Chamber, with us on the call, and I turn it over to Beth for a few opening remarks.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Peter. On behalf of the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, the Edith Wheeler Memorial Library in Monroe, and SCORE, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's Lunch and Learn. This is our final Lunch and Learn for the 2022 year. We've been doing this collaboration together for nearly 5 years to bring you great business-driven topics and help you grow and learn as business professionals. Before I speak about today's event, I'm excited to share with you what we have lined up for our first quarter of 2023. The first date is January 11th. It's a Wednesday. And our speaker will be Jill Lublin, who's authored an international bestseller book titled Guerrilla Publicity. Jill will be sharing some simple strategies to help you go from unknown to newsworthy, to shine your light on you and your message. Our second date is Thursday, February 23rd. So I ask you, have you ever wondered, how do I actually get business from all the networking I do? Well, our February speaker, Mele Comer, is going to be here to answer that question. Her talk is titled Networking Like a Pro, How to Get Business from Your Networking. And our last speaker for the first quarter is on Thursday, March 31st. And our speaker is Julie Brain Lady Anderson. Her talk is about sales. When I say the word sales, how does that make you feel? Does the thought of a sales call leave you cold? Then you will enjoy this presentation from Julie titled Connect More, How to Sell More Through the Neuroscience of Sales. So keep your eyes on the lookout. We're in the process of setting these dates up through SCORE and the library and the chamber so that you can soon register. We have 9 Lunch and Learn scheduled for 2023. And our plan is that we'll be online for January, February, and March, and beginning in April, hopefully meeting back in person at the library, providing an actual lunch once again, and being together with our speaker. So today I want to bring you back to where we are, our Lunch and Learn from one of our favorite SCORE speakers, Cliff Ennico. And we have so much to learn about selling on Amazon and eBay. Peter, I'm going to turn the microphone back to you so we can get started. But before I do, I want to take the time to wish everybody a wonderful and safe holiday holiday year, season, and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Beth, for your comments, for laying out your very, very exciting schedule for 2023. And for the Chamber and Library's ongoing support of our webinars throughout these last many, many years. It's crucial to our success. So thank you very much, Beth and the Chamber. Before we get started with our session today, I'd like to provide some brief information on SCORE. SCORE has approximately 230 offices nationwide. 10,000 volunteers are actively involved in SCORE. We are part of the Small Business Administration. Within Fairfield County, we have about 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. SCORE offers 3 primary services. Number 1, we have free one-on-one counseling that is face-to-face, telephone, email, and video. And those can be easily accessed via the Request Mentor link on our website or via the link on the screen. Educational workshops and webinars, about 100 a year. Today is an example of one that we provide. And extensive resources on our website, including a network of subject matter experts at your disposal. Our website is constantly being updated with new webinars, new content, and new topics, and it's a tremendous resource for all the folks who are looking to start and grow their businesses. We converted some of our in-person workshops to live webinars due to COVID, but we are now doing more in-person workshops. Look for the specifics on our website, fairfield.score.org. Some useful information about today's event. If you have a question, please use the Q&A chat window at the bottom of the screen. We will handle questions in a moderated format at the end of Cliff's presentation. Our webinar will end at 1 p.m. to respect your time. We are recording the webinar, and the link to the recording will be available at fairfieldcounty.score.org within the next couple of days. Now, I am pleased to present Cliff Ennico. He is nationally recognized small business legal and tax expert. He is best known as the former host of Money Hunt, the fast-paced PBS reality television series where entrepreneurs defended their business plans before America's toughest panel of experts, and is widely considered to be the inspiration for Shark Tank and similar programs. Cliff's weekly business advice column, Succeeding in Your Business, the Ann Landers of the business world, is syndicated nationally by Creative Syndicate and appears in dozens of major newspapers and small business websites throughout North America. Cliff is an attorney and small business consultant based in Fairfield, Connecticut. He has helped launch over 15,000 businesses in his 38-year career, and he is the author of 16 books, most recently, The Crowdfunding Handbook, How to Raise Capital for Your Business Using Equity Funding Portals. With that as a tremendous background, we are delighted to have Cliff. And Cliff, it's all yours. Take it away for us.
Hey, thank you, Peter, and thanks to everybody for taking out an hour of your day today to listen to a lawyer yammer on about what he knows about selling on eBay and Amazon. Peter did a great job with my introduction, but just a couple of things to help sort of establish, why do I do this? And the answer is that for many, many years, for over 10 years, I was actually retained by both eBay and Amazon to travel the country talking to their seller groups about legal and tax issues. This was my introduction to the world of e-commerce. It began around 2005 and went, right up until the pandemic, and it's still going on. I still do some things for eBay around the country, webinars and stuff like that on sales tax and stuff like that, because a lot of eBay sellers don't know about that stuff. But it's been a great relationship. Prior to the pandemic, I was traveling around the country, and I think I'm the only contractor who worked for both eBay and Amazon at the same time, because obviously they're arch competitors in some ways. So let's get started here. It's enough about me. Now, if you ever wondered that I was a lawyer, take a look at this slide. We always talk about what we are not going to do before we tell you what we are going to do. Obviously, while I have been doing programs for SCORE now for over 40 years, I am not myself part of the SCORE organization. I cannot speak for SCORE in any way. Anything that I say on this program is strictly me and my own view of life. But more importantly is the second one, and that is we are going to get into some legal and tax stuff on this program, but there's a very big difference between giving out legal information, what the law is all about, and giving out legal advice. Here's Peter, here's why you should do this, and Beth, this is why you shouldn't do it. I don't really know any of you well enough to be able to give you one-on-one advice. For that, you would have to retain my services and, pay me a little bit of money. But so if you hear something on this program that sounds like a great idea and you do it and it doesn't work out and your business fails, you go bankrupt, your spouse divorces you, your kids don't talk to you, the dog pees on your leg, and you end up living in a diaper box under the Brooklyn Bridge, you can't sue anybody. Okay, that's basically what this says. Okay, so let's just talk big picture for a moment. What does an online business look like? Here is what your online business should look like. This is the goal. This is what you are looking to create when you're selling, at retail online. Okay, any questions? Okay, what is this thing? Okay, obviously this is an octopus. Okay, and an online business looks very much like an octopus. If you look at the octopus very carefully here, this little diagram here, this little visual, you will see that the octopus basically has three parts to it. There is, first of all, the head. which is large. This is not only where the eyes are, but this is also where all of the digestive organs are. When an octopus eats, this is where it gets digested, and the mouth is somewhere below those two eyes, somewhere in the center of the octopus. Then, of course, you have the 8 tentacles, and that's why it's called the octopus, 8 foot in Greek. There are 8 of them always. If there are 9 or 7 of them, you've got a different kind of octopus. But these things sort of float around in the water, and their job is to grab prey that is floating by or swimming by in the vicinity. Then you have these little sucker thingies. I confess I do not know what they are called. All I know is what I see on the Nature Channel. But the idea of the sucker thingies, which are on each of the tentacles, is once an octopus has caught prey, the sucker thingies pass the prey into the mouth of the octopus, into the head, where it is chewed up and digested. That is basically how an octopus works. An online business has exactly these same 3 parts. And building an online octopus. The head of the octopus is your website, your business website. Every small business, and this is something I say, I think, in virtually all the programs I do for SCORE, every small business needs a website of its own. I do meet people, lots of them in the e-commerce community, who only sell on Etsy or only sell on Amazon. And I think that that's a mistake. And it's a mistake for 2 businesses. Every small business needs to have a website of its own. First, and there are 2 reasons for that. First is credibility. If I see that you're, Joe's Retail, I expect you to be joesretail.com or maybe joesretail.biz or .org or something like that. I expect you to have that website URL. And if I don't see it, it's kind of a credibility buzzkill for me. I don't take you as seriously as perhaps I should. But the second reason why you need a website, and the more compelling reason, is that whenever you're selling online, on the internet, anywhere on the internet, there is only one place, and one place only, where you can sell stuff and keep 100% of the profits that you make. And that is the stuff that you sell from your own website. When you sell on eBay, when you sell on Amazon, it's no secret these people charge large commissions for making their platform available to you, helping with your marketing, all the wonderful services that they do. You pay a big chunk of your profit to the platform. When you sell stuff on your own website, everything goes to your bottom line. Okay, so this is it. Your website is where the best stuff should be and the highest margin stuff should be. The idea is that you want, just like an octopus, you want your online business to drive traffic to your website, because that's where you'll make the most money. That's where you'll make the most profits. Now, the tentacles of the octopus are your platforms online where you sell: eBay, Amazon, Etsy, all the stuff we're going to talk about today. These are the tentacles that grab customers that you wouldn't get, from your website. Okay, and then the sucker thingies are your online marketing efforts, your SEO, your search engine optimization, your search engine advertising, your pay-per-click ads, your Google ads, all the stuff that you do to try to drive traffic to those tentacles. This is how an online business works. It's just like an octopus with the same basic 3 parts. So how do you build an online octopus? Okay, well, first of all, you have to build a killer website. And I know I sound old-fashioned. I can hear some of you saying, "Oh, Cliff, it's 2022, dude. We're doing everything on our phones. We're doing everything on our apps." Well, yeah, but I still am a big believer in a website. Every small business needs an online home, and the online home is the website. This is where you build your brand, and this is the only place online where you keep 100% of your profits. Your goal here is to try to build repeat traffic. You want to see, hey, I wonder what's new on cliffennico.com these days. What's Cliff putting up there? What crazy stuff is Cliff Ennico putting up there? I want people to keep coming back, and the way to do that is to have tantalizing stuff out there that will seduce my customers and bring them to me. One of the things we've learned about selling online in 20 years or 30 years since the internet first came on our consciousness is that it's not a push medium. You cannot push your advertising message into people's faces. If you try doing that, there's all kinds of things they have on their computer that can prevent your message from getting through: spam filters, pop-up blockers, all that wonderful stuff that you have. Even though I have a message that you desperately need to hear, it's not going to get through because of all that, all your defenses that you have set up. The only way that I can get you to sell something to you online is to get you to come to me. You know, how many of you check on Amazon.com or I don't know, BarnesandNoble.com, whatever? How many of you check these sites frequently to see what's new? You probably do. And that's the goal of any online retailer, is to get that curiosity going, where people are sort of saying, hey, I wonder what Cliff's got that's new. Maybe Cliff has something that can help me, yada, yada. Okay. It's also the only place online where you can keep 100% of your profits. Step 2 is to develop your outposts on other e-commerce websites. Do everything you can. Take advantage of all the services that they offer to help direct traffic to your website, assuming that they will. There are some sites like eBay that do not like that. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Step number 3, market your web presence online. Search engine optimization, pay-per-click, social media, your business cards, your stationery, everything should have your website URL on it. Email, when you send out emails, I have an email signature that's 20 lines long. It has everything. It has my URL, it has my URL, my social media, my LinkedIn, all this sort of stuff. It's all in my email signature. Every time I send an email or forward an email, I have a nice little advertisement that's going along with that. And I do, probably upwards of 100 emails a day that I'm doing right now. Step number 4, market your web presence offline. Okay. One of the dirtiest little secrets of the internet is that most people learn about new websites from brick and mortar dead trees media. How many of you have read an article in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal about, some new web product or something, and then you check the website to see what it was all about? All right. If you've had that experience, you know the power of offline media. One of my favorite people, by the way, she's been a very dear friend of mine for over 30 years, is Randy Spina. She actually lives in Bridgeport. And she is just marvelous at helping small businesses develop strategies. If you need help in this area, she's very good. She's very cost effective, and that is her website, where you can find out a little bit more about her. Step number 5: measure your performance. Okay, if you don't measure it, you have no idea, how well you're doing. What's working for you? Is eBay working for you? Is Etsy working for you? Unless you're doing some kind of basic analytics and looking at them frequently, you have no idea how your website is performing or how your online platforms are performing. Subscribe to, whenever you sign up for an account with eBay, Amazon, someplace, always sign up for their analytics. They're usually free, and check them every once in a while. If you're on several, when you have 8 tentacles or even more, out there in the water, you need to know which tentacles are performing and which are not performing. If a tentacle is not performing for you, you are wasting your precious time on that tentacle, and maybe it should be lopped off. As I understand, I don't know much about octopi, but I understand that actually happens. They sometimes shed tentacles and they rebuild new ones. I don't really know much about that, but think of the octopus whenever you're thinking about what this thing you're building is supposed to look like. So mega retail. Before you start selling online, I'm going to be talking a lot to the newbies. Don't worry. I will have some stuff for more seasoned sellers a little bit later on in this program. But right now I want to talk a little bit about the newbies, the first timers that are thinking about doing this. I used to joke that there are 3 steps to an eBay business, to a business on eBay. Step 1 is when you start cleaning out your attic, or maybe your mom's attic or something. She passes and you have to clean out the house, and you just put some stuff on eBay, and all of a sudden you realize, holy cow, there are people in Brazil that are really interested in buying this crap that my mother has. That's the aha moment where you say, I can make money doing this, putting stuff on, eBay, Amazon, wherever you're looking to sell. That's sort of phase 1, the aha phase. Step 2 is what I call the dumpster diver phase. This is the phase where you've run out of stuff to sell, and you're now looking for other people's stuff that you can sell. You start hitting up your neighbors saying, hey, if you want to clean your house or something, I'll help you out. You start driving around the neighborhood on garbage day and looking for stuff that's in the blue bin that you could possibly resell. And don't laugh, I have had people take stuff from my driveway that I was leaving for charity. The truck pulled up from the Vietnam vets, and the stuff was gone. It was missing. I thought they had already picked it up, and it was actually some local eBay seller who had seen all this stuff and just glommed it and sold it online because he thought I was just throwing it out. Be very careful. if you've ever had that experience, there are eBay sellers in your neighborhood, and this is what they do. And then the third step is what I call the professional stage, where basically what you do is you buy a pickup truck, and you basically go around to driveway sales, house sales throughout the state of Connecticut, with a wad of $100 bills, and you go up to the homeowner and say, hey, you know what, you want to have a short date today? I'll give you $500 for all this stuff, and you just peel off the $100 bills. I have been to driveway sales where I've actually seen somebody do that. They pull up in a pickup truck, they talk to the homeowner and say, hey, you want to hang out here all day? You don't want to worry about people stealing your stuff? I'll give you $300 for all this stuff right now. And then, they whistle, and then the two guys in the back of the truck come and, they load it up. That is sort of the third step of the eBay sellers mark here. What are your goals here? Do you want to just make an extra $20,000 or $30,000 a year? If that's your goal, not difficult at all. With a little time and effort, you can definitely do it. If you have an existing brick and mortar business and you want to add an online channel, that is also doable, but it's a little bit more difficult. You're going to have to spend a lot more time and a lot more effort on that. You're not going to be doing eBay probably. You're going to be more on Amazon or possibly Etsy to do something like that. To make a living, especially here in Fairfield County, Connecticut, well, that's going to be really tough. To get up to $100,000, $200,000 a year in gross merchandise sales, you're going to have to really work hard at this. You're going to have to make it your profession, which is difficult for some people. For most people, selling on eBay and Amazon is a very productive hobby. It's a evenings and weekends thing that brings them roughly, $20,000 to $40,000 a year. If you want to build an empire, though, it's extremely difficult unless it's your own stuff that you're selling. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so now let's talk about these platforms. Let's talk first about the mega retail platforms. These are the big ones. Okay, these are the keystones of an online retailing strategy. There's the majors. There's eBay, there's Amazon, and Amazon has two programs that are relevant, and we'll talk about the differences between them. There's FBA, which is called Fulfillment by Amazon, and then there's FBM, which is Fulfillment by Merchant. Okay, and they're very different programs. When you sign up for Amazon, the first thing they're going to ask you is which of these programs are you signing up for, and there's a very big difference between the two. eBay is primarily for used merchandise, flea market stuff. I hate to say it, but it really is true. eBay is the nation's flea market. Antiques and collectibles for things that are best sold using auction mechanics, where you want people to bid for things. eBay is still the premier website. I know it's kind of long in the tooth now. It's been around now for over 30 years, since 1994. It's almost 30 years now they've been around, and it's kind of long in the tooth. It's not as popular as it used to be, but for items that are sort of one of a kind, like antiques, collectibles, things where you want people bidding for them, they are still the premier website. Amazon has tried for years to develop an auction format, and they've never succeeded at it. eBay has all the best algorithms for that kind of stuff. Amazon is primarily for newer merchandise, for stuff that if you're buying sort of at wholesale and then from China and selling it at retail, you probably will have an eBay site, but it's Amazon where you're probably going to make your money. Etsy is for handicrafted items. It initially started as an arts and crafts site where people who are very crafty could sell their sort of unique arts and crafts design, and it sort of exploded beyond that. It's probably one of the fastest growing websites in e-commerce right now. But the one thing is, you can't sell used merchandise there. You can only sell things that are handcrafted or handmade, even though they're handmade in bulk in Bangladesh. You can still do that, but it's primarily for that. Shopify has really come a long way in a few years. It is really probably, I call it Amazon Light. There are a lot of people on Shopify who are not on Amazon. And most people who have Amazon sites have Amazon accounts also have Shopify accounts and vice versa. It's fast growing. A lot of people are not happy with Amazon's rules. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. They're getting very, very bureaucratic in how they handle things, especially for smaller sellers. So Shopify is becoming the option for those folks. There's also Yahoo. Everybody writes off Yahoo. They think that's ancient history. That's like the 90s, man. But I got to tell you, Yahoo Small Business. I have several clients who have Yahoo sites, and they are getting customers there that they're not getting on eBay, Amazon, and Etsy. The Yahoo Small Business portal tends to lean very heavily female. So if you are selling stuff like handbags or women's clothing or women's accessories, I would open up a Yahoo Small Business store. It's not going to cost you a lot of money, and you may be reaching customers that will otherwise get lost if you're selling on eBay or Amazon. I don't think we should write Yahoo off yet. Maybe we will in the future, but for now at least, I think every online retailer needs to at least consider it. Now there are some sites that are not that where you won't get the customers as many customers. There's a site called Bonanza. There's Rakuten, which used to be Best Buy, webstore.com. Frankly, I didn't have time to check these. It's very possible that one of these sites may no longer be there. If so, I apologize. I didn't get a chance to check all my references before this program today. But these, I always tell people that what you want here is you want the smaller websites that are more focused in terms of who the customers are who are shopping there. People who are on Bonanza are looking for certain types of merchandise that are on eBay and Amazon, but they're lost in the shuffle. So that is something that you should definitely consider. At least take a look at these, and if you see if you see that your customers are there, that is where you go. Walmart.com. Somebody just sent a Q&A right now. Walmart is now selling used items. Know anything about what they specialized in? The answer is no. Being Walmart, they specialize in everything. Walmart, Target.com, but they really don't allow third-party sellers. Is the thing. So here's what another person just sent in a Q&A. Are you going to provide us with your slides via email? The short answer is no. I don't like doing that because a lot of people unfortunately rip off my slides and try to pass them off as their own. I catch them sometimes doing this. For some reason, lawyers are the worst. I have to tell you, my legal programs, I never give out my slides because some lawyer out there sees my program and now he wants to do it himself, that kind of thing. But I will not sell you your slides via email. But what I will do, though, there are certain slides though where I will have some website URLs, and rather than you writing frantically trying to scribble these things down, I'll highlight them for you, and then you can do a screenshot. Take a screenshot of them. I don't care about that. As long as it's strictly for your own use, I really don't care what you do with these. So that is so that's how we're going to handle that sort of stuff. I want to go back though to this slide because I want to make a very important point here. Some of the best places to sell online are not very costly at all. I call them micro sites. These are sites that are extremely small. They only have, in some cases, they only have a few hundred or maybe a couple of thousand viewers, but they're very, very focused on a particular type of merchandise. And if that's the type of merchandise you're selling, you are reaching the highest and best qualified customers. So for example, for many years, I collected mechanical banks. These are antiques. They were made in the US and Britain primarily between the 1880s and the 1920s. These were children's penny banks. Kids would put their pennies in to, like a piggy bank, but these were actually mechanical. They actually did something cute to deposit the penny. So it would be a guy smiling, you'd put your penny in the guy's hand, you push a lever and the guy pops the penny in his mouth, that kind of thing. There were over 1,000 of these different, and they're very, very collectible. There are mechanical banks. The mechanicalbanks.org is the website of the Mechanical Banks Collectors Society of North America. For a couple of years, I was actually the secretary of that organization. They're based in Philadelphia. They're a website. I don't think the membership is somewhere between 10 and 15,000 people, but these are all high-end mechanical bank collectors. So if you have a high-end mechanical bank, one that's in pretty good condition, you can certainly sell it on eBay. There are mechanical banks on eBay, but wouldn't you rather be on mechanicalbanks.org? Because that's where the high-end collectors are congregating. They're not looking at the stuff on eBay. They are looking for new listings on mechanicalbanks.org. Similarly, penbid.com. This is a site for antique pens and writing instruments. If you want to find the quill pen that Ben Franklin used to sign the Constitution, this is probably where it would be put up for sale, is on penbid. A lot of people collect the old, the old, what do they call them? The fountain pens that used to be in the bank. Remember, I'm old enough to remember that whenever you went into a bank, they had the fountain pens chained to the desk. Some of those are still available. Sometimes the chains are still on them, which is how how they got there. And I'm also a big fan of alibris.com. This is a used bookseller site. When people think books, they think Amazon. But Alibris is probably the largest network of over 100,000 used booksellers around the country. And all around the world. If you have ever been to a library book sale in Southern Connecticut, and half the stuff is picked off by 7 o'clock in the morning, because of all these people with huge boxes that are buying hundreds and hundreds of books at a time. They're just taking the books off the shelves and shoveling them into boxes. These are people who are selling on Alibris from a very big way. And there's no reason why you can't as well. Just prepared to get up very early in the morning, go to your local library sales and just clean them out. That's basically what happened. Seriously, one of the things I really hate about online commerce is that whenever I go to my library book sale, I'm not an early bird. I usually don't get there till 10 or 11, and half the good stuff is already picked off at that point because of all the Amazon and Alibris sellers that get there early in the morning. So that's it. So that's just something here. Okay, so here are the 5 big questions that you have to ask when you're selling online. What will I sell? Where will it come from? Which mega retail platform should I choose? How do I get started? And what are the rules and regulations? Okay, so let's begin. Okay, what will I sell online? Sell what sells. There are people out there that will tell you that you should only sell things that you are passionate about. I am not one of those people. That's because I know so many people who sell online. Basically, one of the most successful eBay sellers that I know is a guy who sells used auto parts for people who have Hondas and Toyotas from the 1900s, the 1900s to the early 2000s. I happen to have one. I have a 96 Camry is one of my cars. So whenever I need a part, my mechanic gives me the part owner. I call this guy up and I email him, and he sells me the part and he ships it. Now he tells me, Cliff, there's no way that you can be passionate about timing belts. There's no way. Even somebody who's an auto freak is not passionate about timing belts. I sell the stuff that I do because there's a lot of older Hondas and Toyotas on the market, and people have trouble finding, mechanics have trouble finding the parts for them. I'm a resource for them. I know where to get these things. I know where to source them. Look for products that have lots of customers, little competition, and high gross margins. Those are the 3 things that you're looking for. You're looking for sites where there's lots of people buying them, where there's little competition and as high gross margin. Where are the underserved niches? If you're selling jewelry on eBay and Amazon, well, congratulations, that's wonderful. But you've got tens of thousands of people that are selling jewelry on Amazon, and to stand out in the crowd is a very, very hard thing to do. Sell what you know, not necessarily what you love. I always buy from people who know what they are doing. One of the most successful people that I work with is a guy in Florida. He's in the Orlando area, who sells 60s rock posters, 1960s rock posters on both eBay and Amazon. And the reason why he is so successful is he is himself an autograph expert. He can tell you if the Jimi Hendrix signature on your 1969 Woodstock poster is original or a phone or a fake or a phony. And that's why he does extremely well. He gets a lot of repeat business on his site because his certification of authenticity means a lot to people who collect that type of merchandise. Just keep in mind, if you sell only flea market stuff, you're only going to get flea market prices. Don't get me wrong. When you're first selling on eBay and Amazon, it's okay to put some junk on there because you want to sort of see how it works. And if you do make a mistake, if you underprice something or something, well, you don't want to lose sleep at nights because of it. But sooner or later, you want to move to situations where you're getting better gross margins. Is the platform platform right for the type of merchandise. We talked about this. eBay is best for antiques and collectibles. Amazon, books, media, housewares, especially self-published books. Back in the 90s, I actually had a self-publishing firm. I used to publish, softcover and hardcover books. If I were to do that today, I would not be doing this. I would be using Amazon's self-publishing service, which is much, much cheaper. You can self-publish a book on Amazon for less than a couple of $100. When I first started out in the 90s, it cost me $10,000 to get a print run of 2,500 books, softcover books. That's how much the world has changed in 30 years. Etsy, it's handicrafts, arts and crafts items, handmade goods. Consider a contrarian approach. When people look for music CDs, they usually look on Amazon, but eBay, I find, has the better bargains. If you're looking for a Taylor Swift CD, one of the 7 CDs that she came out with this year, there are probably a couple of used ones on eBay that have only been used once or twice. Somebody downloaded it onto their computer or something like that, and now they're selling the physical CD for $1. You can actually get some incredible bargains when you go off platform and look for take a contrarian approach. Okay, finding out what sells best on each platform. There are algorithms on each one of the sites that will tell you what's selling, what the most popular categories are. Take advantage of that. They'll also tell you how many other sellers there are too, which if you know how to play around with that, this can tell you how much competition you have. For most broad categories, you have tons of competition on eBay and Amazon. It's one of the reasons why Shopify has been doing so well better yet. There is some stuff that you cannot sell online. I've given you this URL, which you may want to take a screenshot of. I'll leave it up for a second. This is where eBay's seller policies live. One of the things I don't like about eBay is that they bury this. You'll see it's like in the 4th level of a search engine. I would love to see this like as a link right from the homepage, but they do list all the stuff that you cannot sell on eBay. So for example, certain types of taxidermy objects, stuffed animals, not toy animals, but taxidermy objects you can't sell on eBay for health reasons. Certain agricultural products, liquor, you cannot sell liquor on eBay, but you can sell the commemorative ceramic containers that have the liquor in them. As long as there's all these weird rules regarding, hate items and stuff like that. You got to become somewhat familiar with those before you put stuff up online. Okay, where is your stuff going to come from? Where are you going to source your merchandise? Well, I think every eBay and Amazon seller begins with your own inventory. Stuff from the attic. You're cleaning out your attic and you just don't want to give it away. You don't want to throw it away. So you want to try to make a few bucks on it. So you sell on eBay, and holy cow, people are actually interested in buying your stuff to the point where the shipping and handling is sometimes more expensive than the actual cost of the item itself. Estate sales, tag garage, these are starting to come back now after the pandemic. You obviously want to buy for as low a cost as possible. Keep in mind that dumpster diving may be illegal in some places. You want to check with your local town. This Facebook group is still around. These are 2 guys out of Las Vegas who a dozen years or so ago, these were eBay sellers that made most of their money selling stuff from thrift shops, and they actually made it into a brand. For a little while back in around 2010, 2011, they actually had a PBS TV show called Thrifting with the Boys, and the show is no longer on PBS, but they actually have it online. And I believe that this is the best place to find it. If you search Thrifting with the Boys in quotes, you'll probably come up with their website. And it's a wonderful show. These 2 guys basically travel around the country buying stuff, and they tell you what kinds of T-shirts to buy, which ones, can make you money on Amazon. The trick to T-shirts is try to get one that was tied to a specific event, a specific concert, as opposed to a T-shirt that just says, Backstreet Boys or something like that. Try to get Backstreet Boys, Las Vegas, Nevada, November 12th, 2012, something like that. That has more of the value. Retail arbitrage. A lot of people buy at retail. It's hard to believe. One of the things I always find amazing about online research is that people will actually pay more than retail price for certain things. You can go to a retail store, buy some stuff off the shelf, pay the sales tax, and go online, and you'll actually get more money from people online because these products are not available locally where they are. It's okay to do. You'll make a few pennies doing it this way, but it's really no way to build a brand. It's also exposing you to a possible to getting kicked off the site for trademark infringement. Manufacturers do not like the fact, especially luxury manufacturers, think Tiffany, Louis Vuitton. These people do not like the idea that their products are being resold on eBay and Amazon by third parties. They do not like that. They will come after you if you do it. If you want to start, one big no-no, by the way, there are people, believe it or not, who could look at eBay and Amazon and they see price disparities. So what they do is they buy from the cheaper site and then they try to sell on the other site where they can make more money. Just so you know, that's a big no-no. Both eBay and Amazon will kick you off if they see you doing that, if they catch you doing this. So be careful. Otherwise, it's okay, it's legal, but that's the only thing you can say about it, and there's no way to build a business. Sooner or later, if you start doing retail arbitrage on a regular basis, you're going to get a nasty note from eBay or Amazon shutting you down, suspending you, saying, hey, you know what, we just come to you're selling trademark merchandise. We just got a complaint from the manufacturer. They troll eBay and Amazon looking for people who are selling their merchandise, and the first thing they will do is send an email out to these people saying, shut this Cliff Ennico guy down. He's an unauthorized seller. He's selling counterfeit merchandise. I think every eBay and Amazon seller has had that experience at least once. An exclusive online, I happen to be a big fan of this method, exclusive online distribution agreements with local manufacturers. Wherever you are in the country, there are local manufacturers making wonderful stuff who don't know how to do e-commerce. If you're smart, you can cut a deal with them where you will set up their Amazon, their eBay, their Etsy platforms. You'll do it for them, and you will collect, money for them while they ship the merchandise to the customers. We call this drop shipping is the name of it. And it's a very good way to make money perfectly legally. No one will ever suspend you because the manufacturer is in cahoots with you now. You're working as an agent for the manufacturer. You sell stuff on eBay. Every time there's a sale, you take your commission. The rest goes to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer ships. So you don't even have to worry about warehousing and storing this stuff. It's a great way to do it. So if you're in Vermont, for example, and there's a local farm that does honey, their own brand of honey, you can help them sell on eBay and eBay and Amazon, and the two of you both will get rich, which is a real win-win. Private labeling and white labeling. A lot of bigger eBay and Amazon sellers do this. They bring in stuff from China or other places overseas. They have it shipped here, and then you sell it under your own name online. Now, this is perfectly legal, but the thing I always have to tell people, now I have to get legal a little bit here, but whenever you do this, you are now a manufacturer. If you're importing toys from China and these things are falling apart and kids are choking on these things, you are going to be responsible for that. You can't pass the responsibility onto the Chinese manufacturer. If you're selling goods in this country under your own private label or white label, they call it, you are now the manufacturer, and you have to have products liability insurance. That is very, very important, especially if you don't really know the merchandise. If you're going over to China and kicking the tires and talking to the people there and checking the quality, well, then that's a little bit different. But most people don't. They just see something on a website. And by the way, if you're thinking about buying in bulk from overseas, China, Vietnam now is a very popular source because a lot of people are diversifying away from Chinese manufacturers. Keep in mind that whenever you buy from China, you are a victim to U.S.-China trade relationships. So if we decide to embargo toys from China, and you've got a shipment that's halfway across the Pacific, you're going to get caught up in that mess, and that's what happens. I'm telling my clients more and more who do e-commerce to avoid China, find other places that you can import from, because it's just getting too political. If you are thinking about buying from overseas, though, here are two excellent websites where you can find introductions to Chinese and Vietnamese manufacturers and stuff like that. If you want to take a screenshot of this one, I will happily let you leave it up for another couple of seconds here before we move on to something else. But these are two excellent sites. And by the way, if you don't know how to do a screenshot, you can always watch this program on archive, and you can freeze the slides and do whatever you wish in terms of writing down the information. Okay, question number 3. Which platform would you choose? Well, eBay, the good news here is easy to get started. 90% of all their eBay sellers are newbies, or people that don't sell very actively. They're hobbyists. It's easy to get started, and it's easy to get, support, especially for their eBay stores program. If you're thinking about seriously selling on eBay, open up an eBay store. It costs you a little bit more. It costs you about $20 a month, but it's well worth it because it gives you a presence on the site, like a mini website within the eBay site. And they do a lot of wonderful search engine algorithm stuff for their eBay store people that they don't do for the people that are just randomly putting up listings on eBay. They are more seller friendly than Amazon. They do not compete with you. That is the biggest thing. eBay is strictly a neutral platform where sellers are selling to buyers. eBay does not get involved. eBay does not have its own merchandise that it is selling in competition with you. That's the biggest difference between eBay and Amazon. The negatives are that it's not really ideal for new merchandise. You can sell new merchandise on eBay, but they don't give you the same level of support that the antiques and collectibles people have. There is a perception of that it's kind of like a flea market. They will not take PayPal anymore. eBay used to own PayPal, but they spun it off a number of years ago. They now have their own payment system. So if you're really a PayPal fan, you won't be able to use that with an eBay seller's account anymore. The two companies don't talk to each other the way they used to. Amazon, it's better for new or unused merchandise and barcoded items, much bigger marketplace than eBay, huge. More automated. They offer the FBA option where they handle shipping fulfillment from their warehouses. Remember I said that there were two programs within Amazon? Well, this is the big difference. FBA means fulfillment by Amazon. You send your stuff to Amazon, they put it in their warehouses, they advertise, they promote. If somebody buys, they ship it, and once a month you get a statement with just how much you got left over after they charge all their 8 million fees for all the services they just performed for you. A lot of people who are occasional sellers, hobby sellers, will do FBA because it's easy. All you do is you ship your stuff back and you wait for a statement to come back once a month. It's a no-brainer. The problem is Amazon does not. If you're an FBA seller, Amazon does not tell you who your customers are. The customer relationship they own. So you cannot sell another item. So if Cliff Ennico buys something from your Amazon store on FBA, your FBA store, you don't even know that Cliff Ennico exists, so you can't sell Cliff Ennico any more stuff. The FBM program is much better. That's fulfillment by merchant. That means, they're just advertising your stuff for sale. You keep it in your warehouse. You have to inventory it. You're not using Amazon's warehouses, although you can now. They will let you use it for a monthly fee. And the idea is Cliff Ennico orders it. You ship it to Cliff Ennico from your own warehouse, your own basement, your own wherever you keep your inventory. And now you know who Cliff Ennico is, and you can send him repeated advertisements for your new or notices, emails, whatever he opts in to do. And by the way, he must opt in now under changes in privacy law that are going right now. You can't just send stuff to Cliff, to your customers willy-nilly. You have to get them to opt in. That's a program for another day, which actually I've done for SCORE on some of the new. I just did a program a couple of months ago on the Connecticut's new data privacy law, which is going into effect July 1 of next year, and it's something you need to know about. The negatives about Amazon is they are more controlling. They have their fees are much higher. There is no auction format for stuff that you want to sell at auction. There is greater sales tax exposure. You will have to. They will charge sales tax on everything that you sell. Although the good news is that they will pay it to the states, which is good news. It's a lot harder to develop brand identity, and most importantly, they compete with you. If you have a successful line of merchandise on Amazon, sooner or later you will see that Amazon has somehow mysteriously come up with a product that competes directly with you. They're selling it, and their price is always the lowest one when you get to the buy box. How many of you have bought something on Amazon and the Amazon price is always either the lowest or the second lowest price available when compared to all the third-party sellers? That is not accidental. Their algorithms do that. Amazon competes with you. eBay, Etsy, Shopify, they do not. It's the major negative of Amazon, and they're actually getting into some antitrust trouble over in Europe right now because of that. And I'm for once in my life, I am rooting for the European regulators on this because I've always had a problem with that. Etsy, Shopify, they're smaller, but they're a stronger following, extremely female friendly, especially if you're selling merchandise that tends to skew female in terms of the customer base. The negatives, of course, is that they're not on a lot of people's radar screens. Etsy especially has kind of a mom and pop perception of, little old ladies knitting and crocheting things in their basements and stuff like that. That's not, again, I mean, there's some amazing stuff on Etsy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking Etsy. It's just that there is that perception, just like there's the perception for eBay of being a flea market. When in doubt, sell on multiple channels. This is where your analytics are very important. You should keep track of your inventory so you can tell which platforms are performing. I mean, the two major players in this industry are Seller Cloud and Channel Advisor. They charge a monthly subscription fee. Google Analytics, though, is good enough for most newbie sellers. I mean, if all you're doing is Google Analytics, chances are that probably will help you, give you the information you need to figure out which platforms are performing and which ones are not. Okay, how do I get started? This is a slide you definitely want to take a screenshot of. eBay, I mean, I've tried to make it easier for you by giving you the exact URLs within the sites where you go to get, most of these sites, these platforms have video tutorials, step by step. They show you exactly how to set up the account and do all that kind of stuff and link it to your bank account, link it to your credit card. You don't have to think about it really. Just follow the slides in there, and it's very hard to make mistakes with them. What I always tell people on eBay, especially, sell lots of inexpensive items, like $5 items, and don't worry if somebody rips you off, they don't pay, whatever. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to build a feedback score. You know yourself, if you've ever bought something on eBay and there's only a feedback score of 5, saying that the seller's only done 5 transactions, that doesn't build a lot of trust and confidence. You have to get up to about 100 5-star ratings before you start, customers will feel comfortable with you. One of the hardest things about selling on eBay is to get through those first 100 sales. So start putting up some cheap stuff. Don't worry if people take advantage of you. You're only going to lose a few bucks. You're not gambling heavily here. The goal here is to ramp up that feedback score so that you look like a serious seller. Amazon, we talked about the difference between FBA and FBN. There's some wonderful tutorials out there. Some are from Amazon itself and some are from third parties. I always tell people that if you're serious about building a business on Amazon, go with FBM because you want to keep the customers. Etsy and Shopify, here's where they go. Best way is to make a friend and let them teach you. So let's talk about the rules and regulations, and we'll talk a little bit more about what resources are out there. It's very hard to do this program in an hour, by the way. I'm used to doing this for 2 hours, just so you know. So I'm going to race through some slides here. This is another slide that you want to take a screenshot of. Do it now. Each platform has its own rules and regulations. I've given you the link to each of these. And one of the things you have to be careful of is to make sure that you are not suspended or booted off the platform. And there are 3 ways that this can happen if you are selling counterfeit merchandise. If you are bringing stuff over from China that is a knockoff of something that is patented or trademarked here in the US, you will be suspended at some point, and you may be booted off the platform. It happens all the time. If you are selling, let's say you're selling legitimate. Let's say that you go to a liquidation sale and you buy 100 Tiffany bracelets that are being liquidated from that store. So you bought them legally. There's no problem here. They're in the Tiffany, Robin's Egg, Blue Box, whatever, and you start selling them on eBay or Amazon. Tiffany is going to come after you, and they're going to say that you are selling counterfeit merchandise. That's where you need to have your proof of where you got them from. Make sure that you keep that paperwork, scan it, make sure you are ready so that if the eBay people, if the eBay seller, team contacts you and says, hey, what's going on here? You're selling Tiffany stuff. You say, well, this is where I got them from, whatever. And 9 times out of 10, that will solve the problem. But again, retail arbitrage is no great way to build a business for the long term. It isn't. It's a hobby, and it's destined to be nothing more than a hobby. On eBay has a specific rule about directing traffic. They do not like that you are directing traffic to your website. They do not like that. If you're selling on eBay, they want to keep you on eBay. And it's very difficult to do. There's only one thing they do allow you to do, which is if you have if you decide to do an all about us page on eBay, and especially they will let you put your website URL there because people very seldom look at the about us page. And that's why they do it. But that's the one place on eBay where you can legally do that. Otherwise, if you do a listing and say, check out more of our merchandise at cliffennico.com, they will shut down that listing for you because you're not allowed to, to promote your own website. Amazon and Etsy are a little less picky about that, at least I find. What do you do if you are suspended? Well, there are some wonderful, believe it or not, there are people out there who have built whole businesses helping Amazon sellers, especially, get reinstated once they've been suspended. CJ Rosenbaum is an attorney. He's in Long Island, New York. He's a very, very dear friend of mine. We are not competitors in any way, but he has a 5-person law firm that does nothing but help Amazon sellers get out, and he's pretty reasonable price-wise. There's also Cynthia Stein. She's in Texas. She is not an attorney, but she will go to battle. She knows all the people at Amazon personally, and she will go to battle for you to help you get reinstated if Amazon especially suspends you. Okay. What are the rules? I mean, there are some legal and tax issues when selling online. I wrote a whole book for eBay sellers. It's called the eBay Sellers Tax and Legal Answer Book, where I answer these questions. You have to ask yourself, is this a business or a hobby? If you are claiming business deductions from the IRS, you have to show that you made a profit at least in the last 2 out of 3 years. There are rules about that. Hobby versus business is a major issue for eBay sellers. You must register for sales tax in Connecticut, even if you are selling entirely online. You're not doing any brick and mortar in Connecticut. You must register for sales tax with the Connecticut Department of Revenue Services. Watch out for sales taxes in other state. If you find yourself now getting close to 100,000 in gross sales in another state, you now have to register for sales tax in that state and start filing returns. It's a Supreme Court decision called the Wayfair case that dated from 2018. You will have deadbeat buyers, and when selling internationally, if you're selling on eBay or Amazon's British or French websites, ebay.co.uk or ebay.fr, you are subject to Europe's privacy regulation, the onerous GDPR. So you're going to need an attorney or somebody who can help you deal with that. Europe has its own set of privacy rules that they enforce very strictly. And if you are actually pitching to European consumers, you are going to get caught up in that web. Okay, so how do you get help? Buy a couple of books, watch some YouTube videos, join a meetup group. Every one of these platforms have meetup groups locally and regionally where their sellers get together and compare notes and kvetch about how bad things are on Amazon. You want to be a part of this and start attending trade shows. The trade shows are starting to come back now from the pandemic. So here are some sites you want to do some screenshotting right here because we're almost done. If you are eBay sellers, this is where you can find out about where the eBay meetup groups are. There's one actually very active in Hartford, Connecticut. I have spoken to them on a number of occasions. Dina Quilty is the head of that group, and she's very, very nice. For those of you who are in Connecticut, Kathy Terrell is New York City. She's actually a former soap opera actress. Actually, she's a very fun person to deal with, but she also has lots of resources. She helps eBay sellers get started. There's my book on the legal and tax issues of selling on eBay and the eBay business. Marcia Collier is an amazing lady. She has written over 15 dummies books for eBay sellers on everything you need to know about selling on eBay. Marcia Collier is the queen of that information space. For Amazon sellers, it's not as active as it is for eBay. These are some people that I happen to know who will help you set up your Amazon account or help you get out of trouble if you do. Taxjar.com is a company based in Atlanta, Georgia. If you're selling multi-state, and especially if you're starting to get close to $100,000 in sales taxes, they will help you for a fee. They will help you register with all these states and comply with your sales tax return obligations. There's also a company out there called Cabbage.com, which provides inventory and accounts receivable financing for Amazon sellers. So once you get to the point where you've got lots of stuff in Amazon warehouses, if you're in the FBA program, especially, you might be able to do some short-term asset-based financing through Cabbage.com. They're also based in Atlanta, Georgia. For eBay and Shopify sellers, I have to say I'm not as familiar with them as I am with eBay and Amazon, but these are just some wonderful resources, some books. And sir, Etsy does have meetup groups, but there are none as yet in New England or New York that I'm aware of. Now, this slide is about 6 months old. It's very possible that somebody may have set up an Etsy meetup group in the last few months, and I'm not aware of it. just check this page and see if you can find someone. And if you are an Etsy seller, why don't you start a meetup group, and I'll be happy to promote it, anytime I give this talk. Trade shows, last but not least, the trade shows are coming back now. They were, of course, suspended during the pandemic, but eBay and Amazon, both sponsor programs. There's also ecomchicago.com. This is well worth a trip to the Windy City. This is an independent group. They are not affiliated with eBay and Amazon, but this is just a collection of mostly high-end eBay and Amazon sellers who do a trade show once a year. And this is where you meet all the people that provide services and goods to online retailers. So here are my key takeaway points, and I'll take a few questions. I see a couple of people did this. You can sell on mega retail sites, but you're going to be giving away a large percentage of your profits. The goal here is to direct traffic to your website where you keep 100% of everything you make. That's the goal. Think of the octopus. Amazon competes with you. Most other sites do not. So keep in mind when you're selling on Amazon, sooner or later, they're going to start competing with you, and you're going to be in a fight with a company that's a lot bigger than you. Sell what sells, not necessarily what you love. Sell what you know. If you are building a business on Amazon, go with the FBA, the Fulfillment by Merchant program, not FBA. Retail arbitrage will not build your brand. You want to specialize in niche merchandise with high margins and minimal competition. Retail arbitrage will not. It's a good way to get started, but sooner or later you're gonna. It's a great way to get into trouble on eBay and Amazon with trademark infringement claims, and it's also not. Whenever you're selling somebody else's stuff, there's a limit to how much you can grow. Sooner or later, you want to control the flow of inventory. Know the rules of each mega site and avoid suspension at all costs. Register for sales tax in Connecticut. You have to do it, even if you're selling solely online. Connecticut does require that you do it, and then build a network, find other sellers on the platform, get involved in a meetup group, try to attend at least one trade show a year, and really become part of this community. The best information I've ever gotten on eBay and Amazon are from other eBay and Amazon sellers. So with that, I think I've said everything I can. These are some of my best-selling books. This is the eBay Sellers Tax and Legal Answer book, which you can find on all bookstores, any place that books are sold, including Amazon and eBay. I mean, there's quite a few copies on eBay for $2, which doesn't make me happy, but hey, you got to save some money. And then this is last but not least, this is all about me if you want to get a hold of me. So Peter, I know we're up at 1 o'clock right now, but I'm willing to hang around for another 5 minutes and answer some questions if we do have any.
All right, let's thank you very much, Cliff. That was a very, very dynamic presentation. Excuse me. Let's spend, we'll go to 1:05, and why don't you take a look at the Q&A board, Cliff, and pick out 2 or 3, and we'll end
the question about
5 minutes.
Okay, the question about that, somebody actually said that somebody actually has a 1995 Honda Accord. The person that I deal with mostly deals with Toyotas, but if you go to eBay Motors, here's what I suggest you do: is talk to your mechanic, and whenever your car needs a part, get the part number from the mechanic, and then go online to eBay Motors and search for that particular part. You use that as part of the search engine. I guarantee there's somebody in the country that sells that part, and you'll save a ton of money at the mechanics, because all they'll charge you for then is the labor of installing it. That's what I do with my 96 Toyota Camry. Okay, now next, Charlie says, we are a book publisher. We sell our books, some 25. We are now having difficulties selling in the UK with its requirement. Can I provide you with them? I am really not that familiar with too much with their UK or overseas operations, but I am familiar. I'll try to see if I can find you an attorney in the UK, somebody in the UK who's a member of the Amazon community who may be able to help you over there. There are the people that I mentioned in my last few slides are mostly US based. They're not overseas, but I do know 1 or 2 people in the UK who do this, who may be able to point you in the right direction. Keep in mind, when you're selling in Europe, you got to watch out for that GDPR, what they call the General Data Protection Regulation. That's their privacy law, which is extremely tough, and it's extremely onerous. There are very specific things and specific rights that European people have that US customers do not have, and you have to become somewhat familiar with the differences between the two. If you are selling webinars or books or a board game that you have created, do you need products liability insurance? The short answer about products liability insurance is, if you are selling a product that has the potential to hurt someone physically, that is when you need to get products liability insurance. Or if you're selling webinars or books, I mean, the content may be toxic, but people aren't choking. People are not trying to eat the book. At least I hope not. If those are your customers, please do not call me. I do not want you as a client. But or a board game. I mean, again, if the board, now let's talk about the board game now is different. If you've got a board game with little tiny plastic parts that kids can choke on, that's when you need your products liability insurance. The webinars and the books, I'm not as worried about, but the board game, anything with little tiny things that could break off and people could choke on them, you have to provide warnings. I mean, there's federal laws too about what you can import. Also, keep in mind that the FBI may not agree with your assessment about whether goods are counterfeit or not. I have had a couple of clients whose imports from overseas have been impounded in Los Angeles or Long Beach or Seattle, the ports there, because the FBI is convinced that they are counterfeit merchandise, and they weren't counterfeit merchandise. That takes a very special kind of lawyer to unlock. They actually freeze the goods, and you have to basically get the FBI's permission to unlock that. And that's a very, very difficult procedure. Whenever you're importing from overseas, and especially if you are putting your name on the merchandise, what we call private labeling or white labeling, you are the manufacturer, and you are held to the same level of legal liability that the manufacturer is. Oh, of course, if you get sued and it's the manufacturer's fault, you can always sue them in China in a Chinese court where all the judges are members of the Communist Party. Good luck with that. That's all I can tell you. You are not going to get recovery from a Chinese manufacturer. You are on your own. I do not know about Vietnam, India, Bangladesh. I mean, it may be their court systems may be easier to deal with, but whenever you buy from China, just remember you are on your own, and it's exactly the same situation as if you manufactured the merchandise. So that takes care of the questions that we had. Peter, anything else you feel we need to yak about?
No, thank you very, very much, Cliff. I'd like to thank you and the Monroe Chamber of Commerce who sponsored this webinar. As a reminder to our listeners, a recording of this webinar and the materials will be available within a couple of days on the fairfieldcounty.score.org website. Take a look at our website for future upcoming seminars. Take a look at our website for seminars and webinars that Cliff has done in the past. Very much worth re-listening to. Again, SCORE offers free individual counseling. So please use the link on the screen or visit our website and click Request a Mentor. We are available for sessions via phone, email, or video. And finally, it's very important to us if you could fill out your evaluations that will be sent to you at the end of the webinar. Cliff, a very, very big thank you to you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And thank you so much. That concludes our webinar.